Hey, everybody, and thanks for listening to Starting a Record Label. This podcast is obviously about starting a record label. So this week we're talking with Ashley from Duplication.CA. I've been wanting to start meeting a lot of people in the industry to just make some connections, get to know some people. So when it comes time to order things or do certain things, that I already have that kind of connection that can be up and running real quick. So one of the things that I was really interested in is cassettes. Seems to be something that a lot of people are doing nowadays. They're a bit cheaper than vinyl if you want to do something cool and different. And I got a hold of Ashley at Duplication.CA, and we have a great talk, and it was really fun. And that's about it. But besides that, if you guys could do me a favor, Spotify and all these other podcasting apps, they don't do a really good job of promoting any podcasts. That's pretty much up to us. So if you guys could use any of your podcasting apps and just search us thing and hit subscribe and add it to your list, it goes a long way to help us actually reach people that'd be interested in the podcast. Also, if you guys are interested in being on the actual record label, head on over to nottodayrobot.com and just plug in all your information and I'll give you a shout. But without further ado, Ashley from Duplication.CA.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Starting a Record Label. This week I got Ashley from Duplication.CA. A few months ago, I was in a couple of forums or whatever, and I had talked about having these cassettes, and a bunch of people were just like, "I'll offer you $20 for this. I'll offer you," and I'm like, "What in the world's going on?" And I guess cassettes are a big thing again. And so in this whole process of me starting a record label, I'm trying to meet with people that, in the future, I'd hopefully have a relationship to work with. And I brought Ashley on here from Duplication.CA to ask her a few questions. Just to start off, how long have you been working there?
Hey, I've been working for Duplication.CA since 2013, March 2013. So it's been a little over 7 years now.
Wow, so quite a while.
Yeah.
Nice.
The longest job I've ever had, to be honest.
Yeah. Has this company been going for a long, long time and just kind of kept going, or is it something newer?
I feel like they never really fully died, but I guess, I don't know. I mean, I've always been really into tapes. That was how I consumed music when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So for me, they've never really gone out of style. And even still, when people are kind of normal people that don't really have any interest in music, I guess, they don't really think that tapes are in. So there's still always these people that you see now that are like, whoa, tapes are back. What are you talking about? The kinds that your dog used to take all the ribbon out of or whatever. And,
my daughter actually just did that the other day. I brought a box of them out from storage, and my daughter literally, the first thing she did, I turned around, she was unraveling them. Luckily, it was a garbage one, but
yeah. So yeah, my little sister did the same thing with my Nirvana in utero tape in what was it, 1997 or something?
Yeah,
I have never forgiven her for it.
That would be no, I had the same thing. I had a couple cassettes when I was younger. I didn't get back into them until I had a car, because my car at the time only had a cassette player in it. And it was one of the ones that, that little thing that you could plug in from your CD player just didn't work. I don't know, for some odd reason. So I just started buying cassettes after a little while, but I haven't bought probably a cassette since 2002. So.
Okay. So wait, you haven't bought a cassette since 2002?
No, I haven't personally bought a cassette, because I think that cassettes and CDs and even vinyl to an extent is something that music lovers really like to get into, and that people that are just regularly listening to music obviously don't really do so much anymore.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, there's so many other options like Spotify and YouTube, and
it's just ease for people, I think. Yeah,
I think people are trying to be minimalist in some way, so they just don't want to buy these things and then have them lying around their houses or whatever. I also feel like everyone moves so much these days that it's kind of hard to keep track of your collections when you're constantly going to and from different cities and stuff. So I guess I get it, but I don't know. I think cassettes are great. I remember, I guess, still talking about, when they became popular again. I think the first time I went Actually, I don't know if it was the first time I went to a punk show, because it's definitely not in 2007. But in 2007, I went to some DIY like show space in Montreal, and one of the bands there had tapes for sale, and that was the first time I saw a tape for sale at a show in like a few years. I guess like I just wasn't really that part of the like punk scene as much back then, so I was like really stoked on it. So I bought like a tape from like all of the bands that played that night. And yeah, I feel like there's definitely been like a resurgence. Like even starting work for this company in 2013, I was dealing with tapes, but also CDs and DVDs and all that stuff. But it's kind of wild. Like I can see the difference in how many tapes are being ordered and how many like kind of bigger labels are making tapes now. And it's like a huge difference. Like people used to make like 50 or 100 at a time. And now I'm getting, people that want to order like 3,000 at a time.
Dang. I saw Blink-182 has their album on cassette. So I was like, okay, well, this is obviously not just like little mainstream artists or little tiny artists. This is mainstream,
Yeah. Like pretty big labels are making tapes like with us, and I guess with also other companies now. It's pretty wild. I'm into it. Like, yeah, I think it's great.
It's kind of crazy. Like you dust off the machines kind of deal, like where people are just when vinyl had the resurgence, they were like going anywhere to find presses like the Mexico or anywhere else that like someone had just stashed them some in a warehouse, or it's just kind of crazy.
I don't think there are many companies that make new tape players now. So I think people are still a lot of the time buying these secondhand things that are kind of like not good, and then like killing their tapes, or like sometimes people complain that like the tapes are moving too fast or too slow, and it's really because the tape machine isn't working properly.
Why would that be you?
Like, I mean, I think like maybe one time in the course of the 7 years that I've been working, there was like one issue once, and it hasn't happened since. And that was like at least 5 years ago. So yeah, no, it's really like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird that there's so many like new cassette products coming out, but then like the tape players are like still, from the 80s and 90s.
That I think they have some ones that people have built, but I think they're like AliExpress ones or whatever, to where they're like real cheap, I get the same thing with like the Crosley record players, where like, hey, do you want to destroy your vinyl or
Exactly. Like I would never put my tape player in like an AliExpress or my tape in an AliExpress tape player. I think that would just scare me too much. I like value my collection too much for that.
Like I'm a recording engineer, and I remember when I first started, like late 1990s, early 2000s, they actually still had they had this giant teak machine to where you could print from like whatever your mixes are onto cassettes, take them home. So like that was like super hi-fi, and I was like, a while ago, I was like, maybe I could pick one of those up and just, print some stuff to get an idea of what it sounds like in cassettes still. And they were gone. Like nobody, like everybody has them all. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll have to, get a different cassette deck.
Yeah.
But why would you think people maybe are the resurgence of it? Why do you think people are interested in tapes? Because I feel like tapes don't really have that. Like for people that live through them, maybe they're not as cherished as like the vinyl experience. Like, why tapes?
I don't know. Like they're cheaper. They're like quicker to make. They're smaller. You can like throw them in your pocket. I don't know. It's kind of nice. It like has that like kind of vintage vibe, Like I feel like that's so like cliche to say, but like to like take a tape and like stick it in a deck and like press the button and hear the like click, and then like see the little wheel turning. I don't know. It always like when like the leader passes and the tape plays and like you hear that kind of like static. It's just, I don't know. It's like a very nostalgic feeling, and I think that a lot of people kind of feel that. I mean, vinyl is cool too, but I just think that I think it's a lot harder to make these days, especially with I forget the name of the like building that burned down like last year.
Oh yeah, it was down here in California. All the lacquers or whatever. Yeah,
like all of that's gone, and I think a lot of pressing plants were like reliant on them to get lacquers made and stuff. So I think that I don't know, I think it's just a lot easier to access like a cassette like production than it is for vinyl. And yeah, like the price is so different. Like you can get 1,000 tapes for like, I don't know, a few $1,000, and I feel like 1,000 records is like,
yeah, that's getting up there. I was looking at pricing some stuff out. I mean, it does move along. You know, they've started to offer like 100 records, but at that point, I'm like, why would you want that? Because it's still going to be like $1,000, and then you move to 300, and it's like an extra 50. You know, like
exactly.
Why would I get 300 at that point? But
I guess people just don't want that like lying in their house because they're afraid they're not going to sell them all.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We pressed CDs with a band probably 8 or 9 years ago, and then like one of the members passed, and they literally brought out like because they bought 1,000, and they literally brought out the 900 they didn't sell, and were like just at the funeral, like giving them out to people. I'm like, oh, that's where all those went, you know. But you know, like I work with analog tape sometimes. That's one of the things I love to do when I'm recording. I think that it does, like when you see the leader go across and you hear like that subtle like hiss in the background, and just I think the feeling that you know that it's that you can't chop it up as easily, you know, as you can in digital, and just that, you know, nostalgia factor from that. I definitely get that. And I think with vinyl records, it's also got that nostalgia factor, but you have to sit and you have to be there. There's no way you could take a vinyl record with you. And so I think for one, they're kind of small for cassettes, so they're easy. They're portable when you take them wherever you go, whether you're listening to them or you're selling them. And then, you know, on top of it, you know, you don't have a record player everywhere. So I think you can take a cassette player places. And so people that would be like, personally, this is why I think, well, why I'm explaining why I think people are interested in cassettes again, because, you know, the people that are kind of like cool into like maybe not listening to Spotify or maybe supporting the artist by purchasing something, that's probably more why I would see people would be interested in cassettes again. Because when I was younger, like I jumped from cassettes because, you know, my tape machine, they would get eaten up, or, you know, just after you listen to them so many times, they just, you know, they start to degrade. But
they do. I kind of like love that about them too, though. Like it kind of changes over time. Like you can tell, you know, which tapes you really listen to a lot, because there's parts where maybe you accidentally press record for a second, and so there's like a little muffle spot. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's not like, obviously you don't want that for your tapes, but it's kind of cool that you can still play them even if there's these kind of like degradations in them. Yeah.
You know, CDs or whatever, if you scratched it was like kind of screwed.
Yeah. But, like, yeah. Sorry, excuse my language. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here.
You're fine. But like even with my daughter who had opened up that other tape, my wife was like, "Oh no, can we fix it?" And I was like, "Well, we can cut it or whatever, and, you know, even splice it together. You know, you'd have a spot that might be messed up for 2 seconds, but you're not gonna. It'll go by, and then you won't even realize it after a while. It's almost like live. Somebody messes up live when they're playing, you might notice it, but after 2 seconds, they're moving on to whatever spot, and you're not gonna remember. Like CDs, it'd be like, you'd have to walk over to the player, next song. Okay. So like part of the podcast, I think I'd explained earlier, is like I'm starting a label this year. Like I was recording for a long time, and that I just got sick of kind of working with like mainly passion projects, people that had money. So I was making a decent amount of money, and, you know, I was like, you know what, I want to get back to rock music. I want to get back to having, you know, fun, enjoying the artists. And so I kind of ditched most of that stuff, even though I would do some mixing every once in a while. Obviously with Corona, that stuff's kind of died, almost gone. And, but this year I want to start a label. And one of the things is I, you know, obviously wanted to have cassettes as a purchasing option in the future. And so I wondered, could you walk us like through like the process and like the options, maybe how they're manufactured, etc.?
Yeah, I guess that's like a pretty, long answer that I'll be giving.
You're fine.
I guess like for the ordering process, like we have this like really handy quote calculator, so you can go directly on our site and choose all of the options that you think you'd want for your tape. Or if you have, you know, anything already ready, then you can kind of go through it and choose what you need for this project. So you can choose anything from like the length to what kind of duplication speed you want, to what color case or what color cassette. Like I'm pretty sure we have the largest selection of cassette colors in the world.
Nice.
Like we pride ourselves on that. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, you can choose like any color, any case color, and then you can choose whether you want like sticker labels, pad print, which is like the print that goes directly on the tape, and we have a bunch of different colors of ink for that. And then we also have recently started to offer engraving. Oh, cool. So we can engrave the label on, and it looks pretty sick, I'll tell you. We can also engrave on the cases. And yeah, we just have like a lot of different packaging options. So it would probably be best to like check out kind of samples on our site and maybe go through the calculator and see. So when you have like made a decision on what kind of, like insert or like labels that you want, then like you go to our template page, you get the templates that you need for that specific artwork, and hopefully you know how to use Photoshop, or you have a nice friend that knows how to use Photoshop, and you just slap that all together. And yeah, for your like audio, you just have to kind of make sure that it's the correct sample rate, bit rate, so that we can process it properly. One thing I will say that I really like, if people are listening to this that have ordered with me before, if you're uploading individual audio files, like for each side, they need to be properly labeled. So you can't just send us your songs that have all of the song titles like without an A1, A2, B1, B2 at the beginning, because otherwise we just accept that like as in alphabetical order. That's how it shows up, and that's how we process it. So you have to make sure that you know what, track listing you like want it to be in, and like have that all set up for us, because it's it just makes everyone's lives easier.
I imagine that's a pain, especially if people that might not know exactly what they're doing, like in the audio realm. So do you take like individual songs, or would you it'd probably be better if like they had the sides split up, like this is just the full A side, like all the songs put together?
That's perfect. We love when that happens, because that way you can choose like what spacing you need between all your songs, and we don't have to like add these things, and make sure it's okay on your end. So yeah, like one file per side is ideal, definitely.
That's good. Yeah, I'm sure like someone would just be like pissed, like now I got to worry about the spacing and everything else. Like, does that factor into the price when they do that?
Yeah, well, if we have to rename files to include the track number and side letter, then there might be like a cleanup fee. It would like $25 or something. Like, I would prefer that you save that money and just do that little bit of work yourself. But it really helps us streamline the process when it's already done for us.
Cool. Well, like along the same lines as that, like asking price questions or whatever, obviously cassettes are cheaper to do than vinyl. And so, which is why it'd be cool for artists to actually have them for someone to take home with them. Like for like budget conscious bands, like what should be some things that they keep in mind? Like what would be the biggest factor in price?
I guess printed material, really, because there's like a lot of setup involved, and we have like a small pre-press team here, so people are going through everything and making sure it like fits on our templates, and that it looks good, and that like the color's okay, that like the text aren't too small, or everything is within like the boundaries of like the template. I feel like printed material is like a pretty big cost factor, but at the same time, that's kind of like how you make it look really great, It
seems like the fun part, like if you have like you open up the J card and it's like multiple pages, you could actually.
Exactly. But yeah, I would say that would be one of the things. But we also offer like high-speed duplication and real-time duplication. So
what's the difference in that?
Real-time duplication, we just have like this room that has like a bunch of decks, and basically we load all the tapes with like the correct length of audio, and we just like press record, and then like the master plays through, and as the master's playing, it's being recorded real time onto the tape. Whereas high speed duplication is done in like kind of like a weird backwards way, I find, but I think it's really cool. Like so when we receive like our tape stock, they come on these like really big what we call pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're maybe 10 to 12 inches wide. And so that's what we use to load the tape into the shells. And so for high-speed duplication, what we do is we duplicate those pancakes. So it's like much, I don't know, we duplicate it, I think like eight times the speed or something. So it's like quite quick. And so we duplicate the entire pancake and then we load the duplicated tape into the shell afterwards. It's just like, it's a much quicker process and it saves like a significant amount of money if that's something you want. And the quality is honestly, unless you're like a crazy audiophile that like will redigitize their tape and like compare, you know, the two side by side, like the two waveforms, then it's honestly pretty hard to tell the difference.
Yeah. I would think like that'd be just math in general. I guess like the slowing down of whatever components maybe would change a tiny bit, but like it's just the fact that like it's just math. I'd figure like it wouldn't be that big of a deal in sound.
Yeah, it's not a really big difference. I think like the like super high frequencies and the super low frequencies that are already a little bit hard to get, you know, on an analog format, like those will be cut out like a little bit, but honestly, most of the tapes that I've done with my bands have been on high speed, and I think it sounds great. So
cool. I remember I had a cassette deck when I was younger that would actually, I think, do something similar to where like if you wanted to copy the cassette, you could be like high speed dubbing or something, and it would like double the play and double the record, so like they're going the same speed, but when you played them back normal, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the same thing, only like on a mass scale that we do, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Good to know for them. So if you want to keep things a little bit cheaper, high speed dubbing, and then just maybe go easy on how much artwork you shove in there. Yeah,
well, we also have like DIY options. So we have like a few different quote calculators. One of them is for standard packaging, like with like Norelco like cassette cases. And then we have like an O-card version. So if you want to make a single that has like a cardboard cover, we do that too. And then we have another calculator that is specifically for people that want to do a DIY style tape. So they can order their blank labels and their blank J cards, and they're ready to print either like at a print shop, or a lot of them can go through like an inkjet printer. So you can just do it at home.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that'd be like they're printing their own stuff, they're stuffing their own stuff. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
To be honest, like that's kind of cool, just the factor that they did it. But that can't, I mean, for price wise in the end, I'm sure there's not a big difference or giant difference in it. And if you guys were to do most of the stuff they were doing.
I mean, I think it really depends. Like the J cards that come on the sheet aren't like, I would say they're not as beautiful as like the ones that we make and like, you know, print and cut and score like in-house. It's like, yeah, it'll be a different quality. Like it really depends on how good your printer is like at home. If you have like a shit, like, I don't know, like some shit inkjet printer that makes these like kind of band marks, like as it prints out, then it's not going to look great, but also it depends on what your aesthetic is. Like if you're in like I don't know, doing like some sort of like harsh noise project, then some cool Xerox look might work really well.
It might be good.
Yeah.
I think like when bands used to do that with CDs, like somewhat like they would replicate the CDs themselves. And then there was only one time that I thought it looked cool, whatever they were doing. And they actually just they had like a cheapy cardboard case, and they like splatter painted the CDs before they burned them or whatever. And then the last thing they did was they actually got a stamp done, like an ink stamp, and like stamped it on the front of the cardboard case. And it's like, okay, that looks like kind of cool. Every other time that I saw someone kind of like, I'm going to do this DIY myself, was like, that looks okay.
It kind of looks like a really bad like arts and crafts project.
Exactly, right? And if I guess that's your aesthetic, then that's cool. But like, for a normal artist.
I'm into some weird arts and crafts shit. I don't know. I like that DIY feel. Like I love getting mixtapes from friends where they make their own covers. So it's kind of like the same. I guess if you're trying to like seriously promote your music and have it like on a CD or tape, then you want it to like look professional.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So like, what are some, like I saw there was a couple other like crazy options I had never seen before on the website. What are some cool things that like you guys have like done in the last few years or so to kind of make things like more interesting? Like I saw you have like cassettes that have USB sticks inside of them as well.
Oh yeah, I don't like work too often with people that want the USB tapes, but they do happen, and it is pretty cool because I guess a lot of people like don't. Maybe a lot of people don't have a deck, but they really love the idea of having a tape. So having this USB cassette, they can just like pop it into the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like people,
Does it
like
also
most
play?
laptops still have a USB drive, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have CD like things anymore.
No, the last 3 that I bought didn't have a CD.
Yeah, I'm like upset. Like I just bought my first laptop like 4 years ago, and there wasn't a CD thing on the side, and I was really bummed about it.
Yeah, I mean, my kids have kind of, because I have a 13-year-old, so like she's kind of been absorbed into like everything else. However, she'll see my CD collection, and she's like, "Oh wow, what's this?" You know, it might not always be on Spotify.
Yeah.
Or at least all my bootlegs or whatever. So
yeah, cool.
But,
trying to think of cool things we've done. Yeah, the USB cassettes are pretty sweet.
does
honestly,
that play as well?
I don't think it doesn't play. It's
so
really,
it just looks like a cassette.
It just looks like a cassette.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it's your tape, and then like pop a little part out at the bottom where the ribbon would normally be. So yeah, you can't really load them. But that would be so cool if you could.
That would be pretty cool.
Maybe they'll eventually come out with that.
They're so small nowadays. I got like a 64 gigabyte one that was literally like this the other day. So
wild. Technology is freaky.
Yeah.
What else? So yeah, USB cassettes. Like the engraving can look really, really badass.
Mm.
Like it just gives a texture to the tape. So it's, I don't know, not often that you see like an engraved tape, but I find those look really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Trying to think. One of our partners like that we work with sometimes, they make swirl tapes.
Oh, like within the actual tape material or within the cassette?
Like on the cassette. So like they'll buy shells that have screws, so that way they can unscrew it and like dismantle it, and then I think it's like that water kind of paint setup where there's like the like paint floating on top, and like they swirl it around and then just like dip the tape in it. It's
like immersion thing where like the paint's on the top of the water. When they dip it in, it like adheres to
exactly. It honestly, some of them look incredible. Like
those are cool because then they are all like they're all kind of different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each one of them, like you can't get the same one twice with that.
Yeah, I'd probably think it'd be similar to like when they do colors on vinyl because they're all kind of different.
The process is very different, actually. But yeah,
I mean, like just the idea.
And yeah, the way that they're all like unique. That makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, the process is obviously, I don't even know why I was trying to argue with that. We both know.
You're fine.
Sorry.
No worries. How easy is it? Because you guys are up in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
How easy is it for you guys to get stuff to the States? Is that a problem ever or no?
Super easy. It's pretty simple. Like Canada and the US have like a pretty good like economic relationship. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they don't really give us too much trouble. Although we do like to ask that if you are okay with it to add a small text onto your like J card somewhere on the outer side that says made in Canada or manufactured in Canada or MFD or whatever, like some sort of abbreviation just to say that, yes, this product was made in Canada, and that way you won't run into any issues with customs like at the border. Because one time, I think it was around this time last year, we had a package that was returned to us with like a bunch of extra fees from like the customs bureau, and then we had to like add a sticker to all of the tapes to make sure that they said this so that we could actually ship them back. It's like a huge pain in the ass, and obviously when we ship something out, we want it to like get to the client. We don't want it to like go through all this because the more it's in transit, the more there's risk of it like getting broken. Because I don't want to shit on UPS, but like they really don't care about their packages sometimes. Like I've just seen so much extensive damage, like, from like, you can tell like sometimes people just like whip the boxes like onto the patios or something. And then like the actual, like understandably, it's really easy to break a case. Like they're, like a light plastic, and they're, not like I don't know, they're like square. So like if you hit something on a corner, it's going to like break. But the actual tape has sometimes been broken.
Wow.
Which is, yeah, like you really need to like chuck a tape hard to get that kind of damage on it. And like
I don't think I could chuck a tape that hard for the tape to actually be broken. That's
me
insane.
neither. Yeah, no, it's bonkers. So yeah.
I know have you ever seen the YouTube people have those ring put things on their door now with the cameras, and so they'll record people walking up to their door automatically, and it's hilarious. Like people have chopped up like all these things on YouTube or whatever of like just UPS or FedEx down here in LA. FedEx is really bad, so like you just see people chucking packages by the door.
It's kind of like in Ace Ventura when like when Jim Carrey like pretends to be a UPS guy and like has this like box. It's just like all you hear is broken glass. He's like kicking it across the hallway. Yeah, that's what I feel like they do sometimes. I'm like, how does this even happen? Like we try and package our stuff so neat and like tight so that this doesn't happen. So it's kind of wild to think that somehow there's like a puncture wound in the box and that like all these things are broken. So yeah, for that reason, sometimes we say if you want to make sure nothing is broken, you can double box your package.
Cool.
And that will help things.
That's cool. Yeah, with the ease of things, it doesn't add like. How long is shipping time usually? Because I've ordered a couple things from Canada before, and it took a while extra to get here.
Well,
so, like,
to California, it's usually about 7 business days, so like about a week and a half.
Well, that's not bad.
It really depends. Like we mostly use UPS, but yeah, when we do, it's like 2 or 3 days to New York, and then about 7 business days to California, and then kind of anywhere in between.
Nice. That's actually really good, to be honest. Like,
yeah, it's pretty good, and we do have like some pretty affordable, like quicker options too. Like we have expedited shipping, which is 2 days, and express shipping, which is like 1 day. Yeah, it's like not that hard as long as your tapes like will say made in Canada or something, and like everything is smooth at the border, then it should be fine. I know that with coronavirus happening now, like it's a little bit slower for obvious reasons that are beyond like anyone's control, but it's still not that bad. Like people still get their stuff like within a decent amount of like not too long.
Yeah.
For the States, so.
I feel like that's kind of started to get better in the last 3 weeks. I think at the beginning, I think I ordered something off of Amazon and it took a month to get here, but I think now everything's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually have like I think like from the US to Canada is like even worse. Like I ordered something like just when like the world went on lockdown.
Oh.
And it still hasn't arrived. Which is making me crazy because I want it, but it's not even, it's like a long sleeve shirt. So like I wouldn't even need it right now. Like
it's getting the summer now.
Yeah, I don't need it, and whatever. I'll wear it when it comes. Cool.
We had ordered at the beginning of the whole craziness out here. Obviously, TP was awful to get, and so like at the beginning, my wife's like, "Well, why don't we just order a bidet?" And I was like, "Sweet," but like we ordered that, and it took till like a couple weeks ago for it to get here. So I was like, "Well,
so that's my toilet paper in the meantime."
Exactly, but it's just funny.
That's cool though. At least you have a bidet now. That is like a luxury item.
Sorry, it's kind of a gross thing to talk about. But.
No, bidets are. I've actually never used one. I'm like very curious on how it feels.
It's definitely very surprising the first time.
Yeah, well, it seems like cold water, like jetting to your butt.
They have some that warm them up or use like the warm water inlets, but we definitely don't have that one.
Yeah, that also seems weird, like to have this like weird electricity thing, like.
Oh, it's not electricity. It's literally like a knob.
But like, where does the power come from to heat up the water?
Oh, so okay, yeah. If you have one of them does. Sorry to talk about bidets on the podcast. Okay. Like the hot water inlets, because you have two. I don't know if you got in your place. In our apartment, you have like a hot water and then a cold water, and so it just takes the mixture of whatever that is.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's cool. I was like really worried that there was like this little like machine like near your butt that was like boiling your water.
Electrocute you.
Like, it really freaked me out. I'll stick with my like standard method. I'm cool.
The standard method. Beautiful. All right. To round it out with cassettes for the last question here. What are some of your favorite releases? Like either personally what you listen to or what you guys have done at the Duplication, or maybe they overlap.
Well, we have a shop downtown Toronto called the Dupe Shop, and when we were first trying to like amass a bunch of really awesome tapes to sell there, I came across this Lord of the Rings 13 cassette, like golden audio book thing.
Oh, nice.
And that's my favorite possession that I have on cassette. I also have like some, I don't know, I'm like a little bit of a kind of like a Tolkien nerd. So I also have a few different versions of some the Hobbit audiobooks too on cassette. Trying to think of stuff we've made.
Did you hear that the guy that played the Hobbit passed today? I can't remember his name. He was Bilbo in the original trilogy.
No way.
Yeah, he passed today.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't mean to make things worse for today. But
that's so sad. I didn't know that.
I keep trying to get my kids to at least watch the movies. For some odd reason, they won't even read the books. My oldest started watching them and she loved it, but like my middle, I'm like, come on, this is just so good. Even the movies are great, and she just didn't want to. She's like, I don't know if she's still scared of the orcs or whatever, but
yeah, I mean, the orcs can be scary, I guess, to like a small child. I think they look sick, but
she's like 11.
Yeah,
I don't know about small. I was watching Terminator 2 at 11, so
true. I mean, I think same for me. I must have been even younger. I don't know what our age difference is, but yeah, it was like, I remember being a child and being like, oh my God, was it like T-1000? Like the liquid metal dude? Oh,
yeah, I was definitely,
scary.
I think it was 92 when it came out, and I think I was probably 11 or 12. I'm 38 now. And
okay,
so
I was 7, yeah.
Like, I just remember being a kid and seeing like the knife go through the milk carton and the dude's head at the same time. You're like, what? Nowadays, that's nothing. Netflix, they're like slicing people up or whatever.
It's like salami or something.
Yeah.
But, what about you? What about your favorite tape?
Oh man, like,
what's your favorite release on cassette?
I haven't bought stuff in a long time. So like, I think it'd be cool. Like, I loved like buying CDs when people were getting interesting in with them a while ago, and people were still listening. I feel like to them too. But for cassettes, the last few that I bought was probably, I know that I wore out War by U2. Like, so I'm not a huge fan of all of U2's work, but that War album, I don't know why I love that to death. And then obviously, like, I grew up and I'm a punk rock kid and I love Dookie. So like that Dookie album.
God. Yes.
It's so weird because I got the CD.
Too.
I got the CD like a few years ago just to listen to in the car, and that I feel like it doesn't sound as good as I did on the cassette. Like, I don't know if there's a compression of the tape or whatever else that made it be able to turn it up even louder or whatever it was. But like, I remember just jamming that cassette in and just rocking it out. And the CD wasn't as good to me.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, digital kind of loses like a little bit of its soul, I find. But yeah, Green Day Dookie, damn. I can recite like all the lyrics for like every single one of those songs. Like that is like an all-time classic.
I definitely was a big Lookout Records guy when I was younger. So like I had a lot of the early stuff on cassettes there too, like Mr. T Experience and other things like that. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's very cool.
But I'm looking forward to getting into them. I would definitely have to get a new cassette player because I don't have one anymore.
Well, maybe there are some companies that make more. I feel like there's maybe like one or two like companies, like maybe like Sony or something, that maybe are making some new decks.
I know a few years ago when the Guardians of the Galaxy thing like came out, and like it was cool to have like the Sony Walkman again. Like they even made special cassettes for that movie. So I think that maybe, and the cassette players even for that movie. So I'm wondering if maybe they have some of those out still, or if they are gonna for this third installment of that, if they'll continue with that.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. I wonder where they got their tapes made. It probably wasn't
I guess not.
It's okay. Cool though. That's great. Yeah, I think I need to get a new deck. I'm like a little bit displaced right now. Like, I was living in Berlin until I flew to Canada to visit my family in February, and now I'm still here because I can't get back.
You're like, I think I'm gonna stay. No.
So I think I need to get a deck for my house now. Like while I'm here. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we got a new vinyl player not too long ago, but yeah, definitely didn't have the cassette with the preamp or whatever, but definitely something I want to look into getting now, especially in the future, because I think with the label or whatnot, I think limited runs of a bunch of different stuff is great to sell, like just to get stuff out there, even if you're not even making that much money on it, it's something to give your fans that they can hold on to. There's a lot of things that I cherished from growing up, from the bands that I saw live, and it's something you can definitely do that. I feel like streaming, you can make a bunch of money on streaming, but you can definitely make more in the interim, like right off the bat with selling some stuff. And
I feel that
cassettes are definitely a cheap way to do it. Like I definitely want to do vinyl too, but the cassette thing is fun. So.
It is. I like it. I'm a little bit biased though.
Maybe. Well, thanks so much for coming on and for making time in your busy day for it. I know that you're working and
it's been a pleasure. It's been great. I'm very happy to be on here, and I hope I don't sound like too much of a big dummy talking.
You can't say any more of a dummy than me. I'll tell you that. Like some of these podcasts I've done them without people, so I'm talking to myself, and so it's just like I feel so weird. But But thank you for not letting me talk to myself.
Cool. Anytime.
All right. Well, if you guys are interested in tapes, go to Duplication.CA, and there's a ton of amazing stuff there. There's a little thing you can plug in and see what kind of stuff that you want on it. It's great. So thanks so much, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.